Why not?
Welcome in. It's been a minute. I'm sorry. I've been in and out of town. Honestly, the reason we're late tonight is because I'm just getting back into town from Louisiana. Chris, I know I didn't get to squeeze you in this time, but maybe next time.
Hey, there's another Brian that's leaving Louisiana really soon.
Yeah, well, did you see the videos of him walking into and out of the facility like 4 minutes apart, checking
Hopefully
himself in the
Scott
reflection of the
Woodward.
glass?
Well, I guess the hope is that Scott Woodward's following him because he's given out now the two worst contracts in the history of college football.
Well, I don't want to chase that thread as far as I really want to here on the show, but yeah, I mean it's hard not to start there, right? I mean that's kind of feels like the spot. It's what's happening today. It's what everybody's talking about, and so from the just quickly on the reporting around LSU, it sounds like basically Brian Kelly met with the AD today. The AD said, "You're going to fire the offensive coordinator." Brian Kelly said, "No, I want to fire a couple other people and make a couple of other adjustments." And he said, "No, the offensive coordinator is terrible and needs to go," which has been abundantly clear all season. It was abundantly clear all last season. And they went back and forth and didn't come to an agreement on what would happen. The AD made a move to the big leaders, and they were like, "Yeah, we're ready to get rid of him now." They laid out the terms of what it would cost, and apparently one of the guys just said, "Yeah, that's no problem." And from there, Brian Kelly's out the door. It felt
They
like the worst
probably
kept
said,
secret.
they probably said,
Go
"Sir,
ahead.
we have Todd Graves on line one."
Yeah, I mean, and I don't understand how that man's worth so much money with just fried chicken and fried chicken
Well,
tenders and French
you
fries and
funded him
coleslaw and
for a
great sauce,
large
but
portion of your life at this point.
and I still do uh, at work. I go take lunch over there and I call it pollito.
Brian's
But
number
yeah,
one complaint in life is the lack of a good the lack of a good uh like rewards point system at Raising Cane's.
yeah, because it's really keeping me down. Todd, if you can hear the sound of my voice, thank you today. No, I mean from there, if the money's not a problem, and the conversation came out today where they were just kind of figuring out what the buyout was going to look like. I was like, if they're trying to figure out money, put out the GoFundMe because I'm going to look like the guy in church with the collection plate. I mean, I'm going to go around and find anybody who's willing to put up $10 at a time. I mean, it's over. And the thing Brian Kelly a year ago called the fans spoiled at LSU and said, we're keeping receipts. We'll see you at the national championship next year. And that's fine and dandy. And he can be cocky. And LSU fans like that. This team and the three previous teams had the same problems. It's been 4 years of him just screaming at assistants, the team looking clueless, the team looking weak, and just being putrid to watch. I mean, I brought this up earlier. My friends and I were talking about it. The biggest wins of Brian Kelly's tenure, the ones that are like gonna go down as the ones he won, are all games that they practically stole. Would be the easier way to put it. I mean, the game against Bama in his first year, the overtime winner to Mason Taylor at the goal line, Jaden Daniels just superheroed that team over the finish line to win it. Last year, they beat Ole Miss in a game in overtime when they did not lead at any point in the game as a home touchdown favorite. They only win it on the very last play in overtime. The Clemson game earlier this year, obviously, we've seen where Clemson is in a game that LSU just flatly dominated, but still found a way to barely eke out a win that they probably didn't really deserve. Um, it, there was very rare where the team showed up and looked like the better team. They would win, but they never looked like the better team. And when that's the case against Vandy, and then A&M for the second consecutive year just beats you up and down the field, it's there's no argument there. He's an incompetent coach.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody thought that this was going to continue down a positive path. The fact that he's managed to squander what many would consider Heisman frontrunners or Heisman Trophy winners can only be labeled as a Mac Brown level of incompetence at North Carolina, where he went from Sam Howell, who was projected to be the top pick in the draft, to Drake May, who we've seen how good he is, did nothing with it. And now you go from Jaden Daniels to Nussmeier. Nussmeier coming into the season, projected top 5 pick. And then the
Heisman
offense
favorite.
is just the offense is just absolutely cratered since Denbrock left in reality.
Well, and Denbrock leaving was not a Denbrock chose to leave. Brian Kelly believed in Joe Sloan and pushed Denbrock out.
Yeah, but
It
how do
was you
you
needed to
do that?
keep. Well, he wanted to keep Joe Sloan because of Joe Sloan's connections to Bryce Underwood, and ultimately decided I want Bryce Underwood, so I'm going to push out Denbrock, and he did. And Sloan has proven to be. I mean, I don't see that many offensive coordinators around the country to say I haven't seen them all, but I'd put him pretty low on the list of worst in the country. Just an abysmal play caller. And you pushed out a guy who just won a Heisman Trophy for this guy. So that way you make sure you get a quarterback who didn't end up coming to campus anyway. It's just Brian Kelly took the approach of a hands-off CEO style coach, and that you can do that if your coordinators are awesome. He made abysmal coordinator hire after abysmal coordinator hire over and over again. Matt House, the different special teams coordinators, Denbrock being pushed out for Sloan. You can't just, he's been there 4 years. He's had 7 coordinators.
Well, I'm just banking it off of, I think the Baker hire is a home run. Like that was a home run hire because that
but I
defense
mean,
is fully turned around.
Well, they just got dog walked up and down the field by Marcel Reed over and over again after Pavia did the same thing to him last week. Every time Vanderbilt and Texas A&M touched the ball in the last 2 games, it was a touchdown on the board. I understand Whit Weeks is hurt, but in year 4, your entire defense cannot be built around one linebacker's ability to be on the field. If a guy turns an ankle and your defense goes from top 10 to worst in the country, I'm not saying Blake Baker's bad or shouldn't have his job or shouldn't retain there, but to be 4 years in and you really have nothing. And besides every play, you just turn around and start screaming at different people on the bench. He's just he's not a good coach. And I've seen he looks like he thinks Sprite is spicy. He's a bad fit for LSU. And I get you're saying that because it felt like the last coach who won a championship, Ed Ogeron, was riding to work on an alligator up the Mississippi or something. Like Les Miles won a championship there, and he was supposedly, quote unquote, going to leave for like a decade because he was a bad culture fit and a Michigan man who belonged in the Midwest. Nick Saban is from West Virginia, and we hired him from Michigan State. Like, you don't need to be from Raceland to be a good coach at LSU. You just need to give a shit. And Brian Kelly just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is now what I will say going forward, the benefit they have, and the reason why I think Florida State doesn't end up making a move is
really
LSU. I think Florida State doesn't end up making a move because I don't know that Florida State wants to put the cash out to get rid of Norvell at this time. Now, the reason why you could see Florida State not make that move is because, in my belief, right now there is a very, very small pool of qualified candidates that are up and coming currently that are worthwhile of taking chances on. There's very few. There's not a lot of very good talent in the G5, and there's not a lot of up and coming high-end coordinators that will take those types of jobs. And there's not a lot of lower end P5 guys that are succeeding at various stops that are willing to leave. Because I'll tell you right now, the number one guy, and we all know it, is sitting at Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, and he ain't going nowhere. It does not matter what happens. Signetti would have been the top guy. He ain't going nowhere. He's locked in. He's not moving. So now DeBoer was the top guy. That's why Alabama struck gold when they did it. Now, granted, everybody wanted him fired after week 1, but now they're looking stupid. DeBoer's been a winner everywhere he's been. Signetti, been a winner everywhere he's been. Dillingham, winner. So, like, these are guys that are culture guys. From the youth aspect, there's just not a lot out there right now. Now, Florida State, why I say they shouldn't or wouldn't make a move necessarily, unless it's hubris, they are now at best 4th or 5th on the totem pole in the pecking order to get their choice. Whereas LSU, when that job at LSU opens up, That's number one,
I was
guaranteed
gonna say,
with
so
a
we're in
bullet.
agreement. LSU's number one.
Penn State's 2 or Florida. They're in a
It's
battle.
Penn State, Florida at 2-3, but I think they're going to
As
hire a
soon
totally
as
different coach. Like, I don't see Penn State and
yeah,
Florida in an argument over the same coach. I don't think the programs are anywhere near the same, looking for the same type of person.
probably. I would say, like I've said, I've come to the conclusion that Penn State, the guy they're looking for is Jeff Brom, but I don't think they can lure Jeff Brom away. Jeff Brom would be a high end, great choice for any program right now. But he went to Louisville. He's like Dillingham at Arizona State. Does he really want to leave Louisville, where he's got himself, his brother? They both went there. They're both entrenched there. I don't see them leaving. So now you end up with LSU and Florida allegedly in a competition for Lane Kiffin. I don't think if I'm Lane, I go anywhere, because those other two schools are not happy if they're not winning 10 games. Ole Miss is perfectly happy as a clam if they're winning 8 and they're talked about every week.
I think if Lane comes out next season and only wins 8 at Ole Miss, it's a problem. Like, I think he's done the thing where he's raised the bar at Ole Miss to where if he doesn't win 10 at Ole Miss, it's a problem. But if Lane leaves and the next guy wins 8, I think it's fine. But I think Lane Kiffin's expectation at Ole Miss is 10. But again, my issue with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, which is why I thought it was possible for him to go to Florida, and it goes back to one of the first guys we talked about on this show. He's synonymous with this show for me, is Quinshon Judkins. We touted Judkins forever as a freshman at Ole Miss because he was cash in DFS. And when Ohio State can come down to your school and say, I want him, take him and go win a national title using him as their 1B, Kiffin looks around and goes, that's bullshit. I need to be somewhere where that doesn't happen. When I get the kid who's the kid, I can't go to my team and go, hey, guys, we can't lose him. And they go, well, can't you just go find someone for like a third of the price? Because Ole Miss last year is in the playoff with Judkins. Ole Miss is probably winning games in the playoff with Judkins.
Their biggest problem was running back.
Correct.
Yeah, their biggest problem last year was running back.
Their giant hole was that a bigger program showed up and said, we want him, and Ole Miss couldn't say anything about it. That's where I think Lane Kiffin has the possibility to go.
I think he's
been as high as he thinks he can take it, and now it's possible. Do I think he ultimately leaves? I don't know. But to me, I think that there's been too much smoke around the LSU job for weeks where I felt like this was clear that it was going to come open. And the only name the people who are willing to say Brian Kelly is on a hot seat had been bringing up was Lane Kiffin. The people with money at LSU have their name. They have the person they want. Can they get him? I don't know. But for me, the first call that they are making, because they have long since made this abundantly clear, they want Kiffin. I think there was a sect in the money pit who wanted Kiffin to be in the category for the Brian Kelly hire conversation. Scott Woodward decided at that point he wasn't worthy, went a different route. I think those boosters are saying, see, we told you. And I think that's where LSU is going to go first. If that ends up being the hire, I don't know. It may not be. But I think it's where it's going to start.
I personally, I laughed because the first list I looked at had Marcus Freeman on it, and there's zero chance he's leaving there. No, like Marcus Freeman's never leaving that job unless it's for Ohio State with Ryan Day gone. I've been very clear about that for years.
Well, and Notre Dame will give him $25 million a year, just not lose another coach to LSU.
Yeah. So for my money, there's two choices in this matter, and I don't think Kiffin's the choice. I just don't think. I think the fan base will not put up with Kiffin's, like, the things I love about Lane Kiffin. The fan base will hate about Lane Kiffin.
Like, I think that's where they want. LSU wants to have a swagger about them. They want to talk shit and back it up, and Lane does that. I do think there'll be a frustration with Lane doing it too much or too whatever. But like, if he's winning, we want swaggering. We want, and like Brian Kelly last night after losing by almost 40 at home takes the podium. He's like, well, the guys tried the hardest they could. I promise you they're trying their hardest. They're going to, we just got to coach better. And I'm like, there's no fire. There's no passion there. And Lane at this point is coaching to win a title. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's there. We'll see, but we got weeks to figure this out. It just happened today. In terms of other coaches for other jobs, Penn State, Florida, LSU, You mentioned Florida State. I think Auburn's obviously going to come open here. I don't know
Yes.
what's going on with Sarkisian in Texas. I mean,
That's
I trust
nothing.
Diana Rossini.
I don't think anything's
I mean,
going
I
there.
trust Rossini's reporting. She's not someone who makes it up. She's also very well connected at the Titans.
Yeah.
Has been since Vrabel was there. So if she's saying that he floated his name that way, and also Sarkisian's an asshole.
Well, yes.
So that he can get to a microphone and be like, I don't know who makes this stuff up. I'm like, I don't trust you at all. So,
Yeah.
but
I don't
there's
know.
going to be a
For
lot of openings, and I'm very curious, like where things go, because these are big openings, and like you said, there aren't really many names to be moving around. Does Dan Lanning get a run?
No, no, Lanning's not
I
going to
mean,
move. For my money, the top coordinator in the country, and it's not close, but I don't think he leaves the West Coast, is Will Stein, who's connected to Lanning at Oregon. But I don't
I was
think
thinking
he
Colin.
leaves to goes anywhere.
I was thinking
I
Colin
no,
Klein. I was thinking,
no.
but Colin
Mm-mm.
Klein's not. He's not a top end of this ring kind of guy. But I think Colin Klein could be an Auburn guy. I think.
No.
Um,
I think Colin Klein is he goes to Iowa State if Matt Campbell goes to Penn State. He's a
he goes to
domino guy.
he goes to Missouri if Drink goes somewhere.
So that's my two names. So I'll tell you right now, if I'm LSU, I ignore the Kiffin talk, well, even though I love Lane Kiffin, because I just don't think I think you're gonna have to pay way too much to get it done.
But
And I
The
don't know
AD
that you get
is
there.
the AD's whole track record is hiring big names. It's all he's ever done. It's all he's ever done.
Yeah, but
He's not hiring a
I was
he's
having a
not hiring a G6
conversation
guy.
with So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said Woodward needed to go because the only good hire he's actually made that wasn't going to happen, whether he was here or not, was Jay Johnson. But because ultimately Mulkey was coming one way or another, it was irrelevant whether who was here. She was coming. So for my money, there's two calls after if you would say Kiffin's the guy. I think there's two calls if Kiffin spurns you. One is Eli Drinkwitz because you already got Blake Baker. You just installed Drinkwitz. Drinkwitz takes the offense. Baker's back on defense. You put the old Missouri game back together, and Missouri's been a running force lately. You're going to get a running back because Ahmad Hardy's going to come with him. You've got playmakers all over the place. He's recruited better than anybody ever has at Missouri, period, end of story. And they're a perennial 10-win team and a New Year's Six Bowl contender every year. So I think that has got to be call number one. The Drink I thought was going to want out after last year. The right jobs never came available. He managed to hold the ship together with duct tape for another year. I think he needs to get out now while the get going's good. Call number two, I don't even think you make a call. I think you drive right down I-10 and you hit
John Summerall,
Tulane and say, John Summerall, what's up, brother? Because John Summerall is a monster. He is a Kalen DeBoer clone who has won at every stop. He's got an SEC pedigree. He's coached in the SEC. He played in the SEC. And fact of the matter is that I want winners, and it's done very well for me at multiple levels with the name across my chest. Teams that have just hired guys who have won at every stop. And Summerall has done that consistently over and over again. He did it at Tulane. He did it at Troy. He's 38-10 as an FBS coach. So the fact is, the guy's 43. You've got a 20-year runway with this guy if you can get it humming. And I see no reason why he can't get it humming wherever he is.
you want to talk about the football games?
Yeah, yeah. Now
Because
I'm off my soapbox now.
I got a spot I'd like to actually start, and I think it's the right spot. Whether anyone actually agrees with it, I'm sure. I know you will, but I don't know if anyone else out there will. Who you got winning the G5 spot? Because it's a hot race. So Memphis takes down USF in comeback fashion. USF I felt like was the better team, but didn't really matter because they sold on themselves there at the end. I hate that USF's really going to get penalized here for losing at Miami, but that's how that's going to go. The other notables kind of in this category here, obviously, like I just mentioned, Memphis kind of takes the spot. Navy continues winning. They keep coming up on the graphic. Boise obviously is coming up despite their kind of early season struggles and kind of everything I mean, look, they're doing it on brand reputation here, but that's kind of where they are, and I guess they've earned it. And of course, is there anyone else I'm forgetting?
Well, North Texas has to be still in the conversation. They've only
Oh,
dropped the one
yeah,
game to
them. But I think
USF.
that's the end of the list, right? There's no one else, I don't
It's
think.
pretty close. Yeah, I mean, you can't take a team that lost by what 10 to a team that beat Miami on the road early in the season when the quarterback was wearing a knee brace, wasn't back
Oh.
yet. They've got a big game coming up this week on Tuesday, taking on Texas State. Still a lot of landmines out there. A lot of landmines. Look,
You're talking
fact
about
of the
James
matter is,
Madison, for those not following, he's in his JMU sweatshirt.
if my boys can manage to take care of business the rest of the season, then yes, they're in the conversation. I do think that if Memphis runs the table, they should get in. I think if South Florida runs the table, they should get in. If any of the American teams, Tulane, if they run the table, they should get in. Very fair. That's the right way to handle it. That's where it should be. Navy is not running the table. Navy's stretch coming up is absolutely horrid. They play like South Florida, North Texas. They get North Texas this week. They got South Florida, North Texas, Memphis, and Notre Dame all coming up. They're about to lose 4 or 5 games. So I'm not worried one bit about Navy. Navy's about to get destroyed. And now with Louisville being ranked and ranked pretty well with only one loss at this point,
16.
yeah, I mean we haven't lost to anybody else. So if we can handle business, it does make me nervous that we might lose our coach again for the 15th time. It feels like every other year. But at this point, I would lean whoever wins the American unless they continue to lose drop games. If they drop games and each of them has 2 losses, or maybe 3, South Florida is going to need 3. But if every other team has 2 losses to a G5 team, then we'll get in with 1 loss against a very solid Louisville team for sure. And Jeremiah
The other
Coger's a
fun ones
stud.
around the
I just wanted to
yeah,
hit
from
Jeremiah
USF.
Coger. Oh my goodness, that's a
Yes.
freshman and he's a freak.
That's a name that we keep an eye on for some of these jobs too. Goalish is probably one we didn't bring up.
And he's going to bring Byron Brown with him.
Yeah. So we love a coach quarterback transfer portal. It's a fun one. A couple teams because we've done the talk about the top end, right? The Indiana, I think Texas A&M showing that they're one of the better teams in the country this weekend. Alabama with a scare at South Carolina, but survives. And I think at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I was actually at a wedding on Saturday with the guy who was an Alabama grad who lives in South Carolina, and he was like, Bama's problem is they play down or up to the competition. That's how he defined their season, and so he wasn't surprised that South Carolina was in the game, but ultimately, he was like, with DeBoer, I feel like I trust us to pull out those kind of games, and so that's how it's gone so far for them.
Yeah, I mean, they lack a run game at this point, so they do make me extremely nervous. The pass game wasn't great. I think Simpson is out of the Heisman race at this point, in my opinion. I just don't think he's got the gaudy numbers. He's got the record, but not the gaudy numbers. Alabama looks good, but they're definitely not infallible. They're not a team that scares me because they do not run the football well. Good Lord, Tucker Craft. Good Lord. That's impressive. He's just manhandling dudes down the field.
That was crazy.
So yeah, Ryan Williams, meh. I mean, this whole offense just not. It's not scary, in my opinion. I think
The problem is
DeBoer's
Ryan
doing the
Williams
best he
somehow
can.
forgot how to catch the football, which is crazy.
He's just yeah. Jeremy Bernard's the clear best option on that offense. He scored 2 touchdowns, kind of willed him back here. I think Bama's going to start dropping games here soon. They're just not electric enough across the board. They're not sexy anywhere. And there's nothing on their team that's sexy to me.
Yeah. Georgia being Georgia, I think is just kind of what they're kind of in the same boat. I think is that, but that I'm not terribly concerned where they're at. I feel like that's a potential playoff team, an obvious playoff spot for me. I think Oregon kind of holds water, but I think Ole Miss remains underrated in this whole run of things. I don't really believe the defense, but they continue getting better as the year has gone on. They haven't really played much. Their schedule's been kind of. And they don't have much left at this point. I think Ole Miss is probably in. Maybe they drop another game, but if they do, then I don't think they go the SEC championship game, and thus I think avoid another loss. So I think Ole Miss is likely in. I think it's a good football team. The defense is improving. I think it's a real team that has a chance in a year as open as this. I don't really think that defense is good enough to win a title, but it's certainly a strong enough team winning at Oklahoma this week, largely with the defense in a game that Mateer just kind of never had it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say, if Lane could stop bringing Austin Simmons in the game, that would be good of him to do.
Be ideal. Yeah.
Jeez. Chambliss played fine again. Another 300-yard passing, 50-yard rushing game. Just didn't really find the box too much. Not an efficient game from Kewan Lacey, but he was really making yards out of nothing. Like, it wasn't his fault that he averaged 3 yards a carry. He was kind of getting hit in the backfield, and then he'd spring off 8 yards out of that, or 6 yards of positive gain. The biggest concern is they have a bunch of Jags at wide receiver, and there is not one impact player among them. Like, they all stink. They continue to have one person who produces each week, but there's not one of them that's going to get open in these tough games. Lane, it's all reliant on Lane scheming them open. I didn't think they looked particularly good against Oklahoma here. I think a fully healthy John Mateer probably wins this game. But knowing that Mateer wasn't healthy, and Isaiah Satania is nasty, man. We're gonna have to keep an eye on him.
Georgia Tech locked into your playoff here.
They need
number
to win
8
out.
In the country, unbeaten. Schedule left is NC State, at Boston College, home versus Pitt, home versus Georgia.
So Pitt would scare me because that's a game where they'll get let up on. Brent Key is a guy that I think is going to get mentioned for a lot of jobs. I would say that I only want to hire him if Buster Faulkner comes with him. Because I don't know. And then Brent Key is a guy that will lose terrible games. He wins big ones, but he loses terrible games he shouldn't lose. So that's why Pitt scares me.
Brent Key similar to your Dillingham, a Georgia Tech guy.
Jeff Brom too, very similar in the same vein. So from that standpoint, though, I would say Georgia, they'll be up for. If they can win that Georgia game, it doesn't matter what they do in the ACC title game. Lose the Georgia game, and things will start getting squirrely, because if you lose 2 in a row, what is the committee's opinion going to be if you lose your last game and lose the next game? Now you're on a 2-game losing streak heading into the playoff. Do they let you slide on that because it's a championship game or not? That could be tough. I do fully believe in that team, and I have the 75-1 Haynes King.
We pushed it. It was like after like week 2 or 3, we were sitting there like, who's a dark horse? And Haynes King. I got a
75-1 Haynes King ticket. So I think he's very live. He's now 25-1.
Well, between him and Jeremiah Love too.
He's so good right now. You know what they were saying on the broadcast was that he's not going to end up being able to win it because he doesn't have enough passing touchdowns. That's what they said on the broadcast. That is literally word for word.
He's like the leading rusher in the country.
He leads the country in rush touchdowns. How are you going to – what do you mean? Like, it doesn't matter, man. And then he actually – I don't know if you got to see the game. The tight end, Beetham, who caught 2 touchdowns, he dropped 2 other touchdowns on different drives. So, he could have had 4 or 5 passing touchdowns in this game. He's going to put up monster numbers the rest of the year, because he's like best friends with Brent Key. Like, he loves him. So he is going to put up massive numbers all season and we're just going to have to see what he does. If he has a big game against Georgia with 100 yards rushing and multiple rushing touchdowns, and then somehow puts together another couple passing, similar to the game he had last year in that overtime loss, he's winning that Heisman Trophy.
I'm putting a pin in Vandy because we'll get to them in a second. BYU up here in the top 10 as well.
That was a game. That was something. I watched. So I watched that whole game, because it was my favorite player against the DFS stack I had that was low owned and was winning me money on money. Parker Kingston's a stud. Like, he's fast as can be. That BYU defense still has a ton of problems and issues. I will say number 11 on that defense. I got to find that guy's name. Let me get his name because that dude is a freak. Falatau Satuala. Oh my goodness. Dude, he jumped that route, picked Rocco, and I was like, holy smokes. He jumped that route on a flat route, undercut the crap out of that thing, and ran it back for a touchdown. And he looks on a field full of okay, moderately decent defensive players. He stands out as a star. Like, he is insane. And they won this game on the back of Bear Bachmeier because LJ Martin left in the first quarter. And I don't know how far this freshman can take them, but 8 straight with a freshman as your quarterback is especially impressive when you consider that in the springtime he was at Stanford prepping to be their starter.
I'm going to put a pin in, I think, the rest of this top 25 because there's a handful of these teams that I know I want to get to here in this show. You do have some of the G5 games coming up early in the schedule this week that are at least interesting. You mentioned the James Madison game. They're at Texas State on Tuesday night here, 8 o'clock start. Any interest in talking about that one?
No, I just think it's the next hurdle for them. I think there's a lot of hurdles down the stretch for us. You got that game in San Marcos on a Tuesday night. That's going to be difficult. That's a high-powered offense. Reminder, too, that James Madison, only team in the country to not give up 300 yards of offense yet this entire season to any team. And that includes, we gave up a 98-yard touchdown pass last time out to Old Dominion. Still didn't give up 300 yards total offense in that game. So
wow.
Very good defensive unit right now that's playing very well, even though a lot of the guys that should be on that unit are currently playing for the number 2 team in the country, Indiana. But yeah, so I would say that's the first hurdle. App State has been a perennial thorn in our side. We still can't beat them since moving up to the FBS. And then, you still got the conference championship game down the line that could be difficult, but I don't think anybody in the West, it's probably a rematch with Texas State because we already kicked the snot out of Louisiana Lafayette and all the other teams in the West. So I don't think anybody on the West is going to be an issue after this. So realistically, I think it's really App State is the one bogey on the schedule because they love to ruin our season every year.
One of the other G5 contenders we talked about, Tulane, they're on the road, 4.5-point favorites against UTSA. UTSA is 3-4 here, but certainly a tricky spot for Tulane going to the Alamo Dome.
UTSA perennially was a good team. A lot of the shine has come off of that staff since Frank Harris left that program and departed after a wonderful 6-year run as a great player. They just don't have the horses now under the guidance of Owen McCown. He's nowhere near Luke or Josh were.
Memphis is a huge favorite on the road against Rice on Friday night. I'm not terribly interested in that one.
No, I wouldn't be either, although that could turn interesting if Brendan Lewis was to go down again. Then you thrust my guy AJ Hill into action, and Rice can be tricky. They got a weird offense, so it's not a spot that they're going to want to let up for sure.
Any interest in a Bill Belichick's potential first win on the road at Syracuse? Only a 1.5-point dog on Friday night.
Did you catch the end of that game this week too?
Yeah, they were right on that. They were very close to that one on the 2-point attempt there in overtime, man.
All he had to do was reach out and he got it. I mean, he pulled it back before he extended to full extension. Like that was a 2-point play. Balls on belly for probably literally after the game. But
what does he have to lose? I mean,
for him to go for that, why not? Like looking to get his first win, hadn't won a game in a while.
To go to up and comer in the college football space.
Yeah, maybe he's a candidate for one of these jobs.
I'll move on to Saturday. Penn State at Ohio State, one of the games that were circled on the calendar preseason. And I don't think many people really give a damn now, but 20.5-point favorites is Ohio State at home. Yeah.
I think that's big noon.
It has to be. It's noon on Fox. It automatically is. That's just how it
What a
works.
terrible game. What a
Yeah.
terrible game. Oh, man. 20 and
The
a
game I'm
half point
watching
spread.
that's, I think, gonna be easily the most interesting in this window is, number 9 Vanderbilt, 3.5 point road dogs against, Texas, number 20 Texas, who I'm not entirely sure what to say about Jeff Levy and what occurred with that, the end of game management there against Texas by Mississippi State. That thing was they had a 17-point lead in the final. I think it was 7 minutes, and it just blink of an eye disappeared. They were snapping the ball with 20 seconds left on the play clock. It was some abysmal game management to gift wrap Texas that victory. Otherwise, Texas would be sitting there at 5-3 and out of the conversation as well. Um, I have no confidence in Texas to win any game. Um, I have no shame in being willing to take Vanderbilt here on the money line.
At this point, I'll be honest with you. I think the value play on the site I'm looking at is take Vandy plus 2.5. That's currently at plus 100.
I'm looking at plus 3.5. I always like getting over that little
Yeah,
number, but yeah.
I think it's going to that. It's going to that very clearly. But rather than taking the money, I think eventually I will want to take some money line here. Pavia, I thought Arch really turned a corner and played better in this game, but Arch did get banged up in that one. So I have to keep an eye on that. Texas lacks a run game. Their offensive line, not very good. Defense had been good until this game. Jeff Levy put on a masterclass on how to score points, and then he put on a masterclass of a true Art Briles disciple that doesn't know how to kill the clock to end a game.
uh, Speaking of poor coaching, Miami, I briefly touched on, or maybe it came up in you and I's conversation, was the performance they had against Stanford, entering half 7-7, down 7-0 for much of the first half at home against obviously that pretty dreadful Stanford team. Ended up winning by a very big margin, but the path to get there was not great. They now head to SMU for their first game out of the state of Florida all season, which is coming on November 1st, which is simply amazing. I'm not here to say that SMU has an easy upset opportunity here. I think, Miami being a bigger team, a more physical team up front, especially, makes this kind of makes them as an upset team always a little scary. But for their first time as a road game, it's not like SMU is some difficult place to play, but Crystal Ball is liable to try and keep games close. And this is an SMU team that did play in the playoff last year, damn near won this conference, and has obviously disappointed this season. But I don't think they're particularly bad.
They're not bad. They're the team that I expected last year, which is they're very good at stopping the run. They kind of lack a run game, and they have decent weapons on the outside. Kevin Jennings has been banged up throughout the season. The expectation would be, I would say the expectation is that Miami's probably physical enough along the lines of scrimmage that they can handle SMU in this spot. But you could take that Stanford game and say there's a little bit of nerves from it, but also that's the same Stanford team that managed to beat Florida State the week before. So,
Well, I mean, my only thing is, it feels like teams are trying to make Carson Beck beat them, and at this point, Carson Beck is showing all the signs of, I don't think I can beat you.
yeah, he
Yeah.
can't. That's what you have to do.
He's the
Though.
one you were expecting week 1, and I think he's finally
Yeah.
showing up, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm thankful that he is. It doesn't help my pockets, but it makes me feel a little better.
Other interesting ones here in the noon slate. Rutgers is heading to Illinois, and Illinois is almost a 2-touchdown favorite. I've got here.
Love that game.
Duke is a 3.5-point underdog at Clemson. Baylor is a 4-point favorite hosting UCF on what appears to be Dave Aranda heading out the door there. What are your collective thoughts on that kind of little interesting little couplet on the noon slate?
Love that Rutgers game. Hope it's on the all the fantasy slates because that game's going to be a massive over spot there.
63.5.
Rutgers has 0 defense. Yeah, Rutgers, it's 62.5 here. It's moving. It's going up. Rutgers is a very live dog because they have a great offense. They can throw the heck out of the football. They got 3 real good weapons with Ian Strong, KJ Duff, and DT Sheffield. Antoine Raymond, good running back. Greek Rifle back there. Athenian Cali Manis. I think Illinois is just going to put up so many points in a variety of ways here. And with Illinois' issues on the back end, Rutgers is going to be able to throw up points. So as long as the weather's good, this is going to be a blast of a game to watch. That will be appointment television for me. I think Duke is playing decent ball right now. They're going to hang with Clemson, especially if Klubnik's not out there. If Klubnik's out there, then it changes things a little bit. But remember, I don't know if you had seen this because it was from last week. Bryant Wesco got hurt on a punt return, hurt his neck, something weird. I didn't get to see the play, but I know he's out for the season, and there's some concern there, which hopefully he's healthy. Big fan of his. And so I'm interested to see if Chris Vizina starts. Give me all the Duke. Duke throws the hell out of the football. Nate Shepard's an absolute playmaker at running back. We have some great freshman running backs that have emerged.
Yeah, I mean, across the country, there's a bunch of them. One other game that interests me, it's not in the noon window. It's a 1 o'clock start in the TNT. Arizona State is at Iowa State. 2 teams I think we both didn't expect to have 3 losses at this point of the year. Probably thought this was a potential playoff spot game, but it certainly won't be given where these 2 teams are. But given I think how talented we both think these teams are, I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
It could be if Jordan Tyson's back healthy and his hamstring's okay, because he missed last week. I actually ended up betting a hefty sum on Houston early in that game, and I ended up having to sweat it because Sam Levitt left the game. I saw Jeff Sims come in for a snap, texted my buddy who bets up in the Northeast, and said, if Jeff Sims is on the field, check for me and let me know if Sam Levitt is in the game. If Sam Levitt's in the game, I want to hammer a Houston money line right now. And he sent me back a thing with a Arizona State fan with multiple drinks and some firearms and a picture saying that Sam Levitt was out of the game. And therefore, I laid a lot on Houston money line, only for Sam Levitt 5 minutes later to come back in the game and scare me until he left the game again. So I greatly appreciate him doing that for me. Because Jeff Sims is never going to lead a team to victory. It does not matter who they're playing against. So hopefully Sam Levitt's out and then Iowa State will win this game. Otherwise, I have a lot of concern if we get a fully healthy Arizona State team traveling to Ames.
Might I interest you in the post-Billy Napier interim coach bump for the Georgia-Florida game? 7-point spread here.
Yeah, I think that's a fun one. It's actually starting to move even further. It's trending towards Georgia at 8.5. So we'll see where that ends up landing. I think Florida probably plays pretty well out of this one. Interested to see where they go because they have a lot of really good talent that they need to keep. So whoever they hire is almost going to need to be approved by Lagway and Dallas Wilson, Aiden Mizell, like all these young wide receivers, and Jaden Baugh. Like they're skill players. Florida might have one of the most talented skill position rooms in the country between running back and wide receiver. And I noticed I didn't mention quarterback. I still reserve the right to not know whether DJ Lagway is good or not. I still want to see it, but I've seen it enough to kind of feel okay after the last couple games. I don't know, man. I don't know what they do with Georgia. This feels like a game where I would prefer to take the points and bet on Florida to keep this one in there because I like the talent so much of the weapons on the Florida side of the football here.
Well, and one of the things with Florida fans has been they couldn't stand Napier's play calling, and I'm curious, with that now obviously gone, does that allow Lagway to look better? What does Lagway actually look like without those shackles of whatever Napier was doing poorly and the disaster that had been for the last few years? If you just actually let Lagway play like we kind of expected him to be all this time. Let's see what he really looks like and see what just natural talent can bring, even if it's not the most well conceived offense that you put together in 2 weeks. But maybe just, hey, dude, just go play ball, and he actually turns out to be the guy that we've kind of expected him to be, and think he still can be.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we need to see.
Good luck telling me whatever in the hell Kansas State is at this point. I mean, you expect them to look like crap, then they come out and just do whatever they did last week to Kansas. They've got Texas Tech at home this week. Texas Tech 7.5-point road favorites. I mean, I'm looking at Avery Johnson, 15 touchdowns, 2 picks. 4-4 though, but they sure looked a whole lot better than Kansas last week.
They did. Still no Dylan Edwards. He's played his 4 games. Does he try to transfer now? I think Kansas State is live in this one, mainly because Bayron has been out the last 2 weeks. I'm hoping he comes back for this one. They need him to come back because the number one strength that I said about this Texas Tech team is it was deep at quarterback, and if Bayron was out, they had Will Hammond to fall back on. They now no longer have Will Hammond to fall back on because he tore his leg up over the weekend. So now Will Hammond is gone, and they're turning to Mitch Griffiths, the former Wake Forest dropout, essentially. So, yes. So now Bayron has to be healthy for them to be an actual title contender. And they could have done something with Will Hammond at the quarterback position. They cannot do anything with Mitch Griffiths. I guarantee that. So it's all going to come down to that. I really do think Texas Tech has a decisive advantage along the lines of scrimmage compared to the rest of the Big 12. And if Bayron is their quarterback, and if Bayron ever could stay healthy, they are a legitimate title contender.
In the G5 race, Fresno is at Boise. We talked about Boise earlier. They're 17.5-point favorites over Fresno at home. That's another 3:30 window game there.
Yeah, Fresno stinks. They're not the team they used to be with Jake Hainers and Derek Carrs and David Carr and all the good quarterbacks they've had for their careers. They suck now. Boise, not a fun team to play in DFS either. They got a 3-headed crapper at running back. They're just not. Boise is not a good team right now. They're winning games, but it's because the Mountain West is in absolute shambles.
South Carolina, who we just talked about earlier, pushed Alabama to the brink last week at home, hits the road. They're at Ole Miss. That's our 7 p.m. ESPN game this week. It feels like at some point South Carolina has to win one of these. I legitimately think Ole Miss is good to great, but I don't think this is the spot where South Carolina ends up doing that.
No, South Carolina needs a game like this at home, and then they're going to need just a all-time performance from Sellers in order to do it, and they just can't get this on the road, not in the Grove.
Well, and next week they're at A&M, so my confidence level in them getting that this season seems to be dwindling.
Does Beamer survive the season?
Well, it feels like one of those where Beamer may end up being the hire at Virginia Tech, where he just gets to kind of do the
reset.
I'm relocating to a different job, and you guys can go find your own guy, and it's all that jazz is just fine. Which I thought is what I told Brian Kelly, get on the phone with Wisconsin, idiot. Georgia Tech at NC State. We talked about them earlier. Georgia Tech only 6.5-point favorite here. Over under 57.5, big number. NC State's been okay lately.
Well, except for last week when they played Pitt and lost. I think it was 56-23 or something, or 30. They got killed by Pitt.
53-34. Got smacked by Notre Dame.
Yeah, they're very bad on the defensive side of the football. Dave Dorn probably also one of those that's on the hot seat and out the door.
The ABC game this week is in Oklahoma at Tennessee. I mean, I don't know at what point I'm supposed to start believing in Oklahoma again, but I felt like this slide seemed kind of obvious.
Yeah, I just also don't think Tennessee's very good. Joey Aguilar's looked like App State Joey Aguilar lately. Not the one from 3 years ago, the one from 2 years ago, the one from last year. It just has not looked good. Brazzle, I think Oklahoma's live in that game. Tennessee's defense not very good. I don't know that the offense can scheme guys open against this defense. That's a game I'm interested to watch. I really do think Oklahoma is live to beat Tennessee, very very much so. That spread on its surface, the spread should look bigger, but it's really not. It's probably going to end up moving more towards Oklahoma, even so.
USC and Nebraska are in what I'm going to call a playoff eliminator, though I don't think either one is serious contenders for it, but they both got 2 losses and are playing each other. That, my friends, is a playoff eliminator. USC is a 6.5 point road favorite.
Yes, that is a very live dog at home. USC,
in the Matt Rule showcase for Penn State games.
Yeah, USC, noted team that does not play well on the road. I actually did, since we had this last conversation, I'm pretty sure James Franklin got fired the last time we did a show.
He did. Every time we do a show, somebody's fired.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen every week for the rest of the season. Matt Rule, I actually did have an argument with somebody where they said Matt Rule is the perfect Penn State hire. I said, oh, really? What big games has he won? He's like, oh, he's won plenty of big games at those schools. I'm like, okay, so I went and looked it up. He's 2-23 against the top 25, 0-12 against the AP top 10. He's never beaten a big team, and both of those 2 against the top 25 were at Temple. He never won a top 25 game at Baylor. So the man's amazing at building programs. He's going to suck at reaching the top level. He's the exact thing that Penn State does not want. Please be.
And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I don't think he won any top 25 games at the Panthers either.
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, I think they're live against USC. You know, my guy, their defense, that Nebraska defense, not very good. Dylan Raiola, not great. I think I side with USC to win that game. If it was at USC, I would really like USC to win that game. I just don't trust Lincoln Riley outside of the state of California. I don't know that he's won a game outside of the state of California at this point.
Oh, it's a night game in Nebraska. I see the forecast for temperatures in the 40s as well. First game in November here. So yeah. What does USC look like in the Midwest in a 40-degree weather game? The last ranked game here on the schedule for the night is, and I'm going to skip over this Wake Forest at Florida State game. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if Robbie Ashford went in there and won, but I don't think it's worth our time and conversation about it.
Robbie Ashford and Thomas Castellanos are literally the Spider-Man meme pointing at one another.
I think this is a very legitimate, fun game here for the Big 12. It's number 17 Cincinnati at number 24 Utah. Cincinnati has obviously looked great this season, putting it on Baylor this past week. Like I mentioned, likely sending Dave Aranda out the door there, and Utah with a tough loss to BYU in the Holy War 2 weeks ago comes back and just thumps Colorado last week. Utah needs to win it to stay in this Big 12 playoff race if they have a chance. That they have to catch up to Cincinnati. This would be a big step to doing that. It's going to be tough, but if they've got playoff hopes, they have to win this game at home here, and they're 7.5 point favorites.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, hell of a good team. Watched that entirety of that Baylor game last week or yesterday. They're very good. They have a good run game, good 1-2 punch with Tyree Walker and Evan Pryor. Wide receivers, they're kind of like Ole Miss, where they have a great quarterback, but then no wide receivers that are very good. They have a good tight end, though. Joe Royer, solid tight end. But otherwise, that defense is kind of leaky, can be. Going to Rice-Eccles at night is a very tough place to play. You have to side with Utah being the team that you would side behind. Devin Dampier missed yesterday's game, so there is some concern there. I wanted to see how they ended up looking. Their quarterback's name, by the way, the backup, they went from the pig farmer Bryson Barnes, who's now at Utah State, to their current quarterback's name was Bird Ficklin, which I laughed so hard because somebody, I think it was Tom Fornelli or one of them on CBS guys, they said, that sounds like a 1930s lawyer in Mississippi. And that was just the most appropriate analogy for a guy named Bird Ficklin, who came out of nowhere and was just dominating Colorado. they were up. I got home and started to watch the game, and I was like, okay, cool. But Colorado playing Utah. I'm sure it'll be not close, but Utah has got the backup quarterback in. We'll see. It was 40 something to nothing before half, and I sat down. I went, well, I guess I'm watching something else. So shout out Utah, man. They look great. Like they're playing really well. It'll be interesting to see what Sorsby can do with this Utah defense coming up this week. And I got one more game to throw your way because I had the gut feeling last week that I should be playing Cutter Boley at 7,100 on FanDuel. I didn't pull the trigger because I got nervous feet. But I should have, because he's a freshman and he's a quarterback, and he threw for 5 touchdowns. And I think he's going to cost Hugh Freeze his job, and that's the job we're going to be talking about next week, because Kentucky is going to go to Auburn and win at Auburn next week. They are serious. And by the way, did you know, I didn't know this till I was reading some previews for the game this week for Kentucky, that because I started looking into Cutter Boley even more, that Seth McGowan, their running back who transferred in from New Mexico State, the week before against Texas, he left the game, went to the hospital, and came back and continued playing in the game after being at the hospital. He missed the second and third quarter at the hospital and came back for the fourth quarter from the hospital. Shout out my man.
Shouldn't an adult step in at some point and be like, hey, my boy, looking out for you here?
That's an all-time move. I'm telling you. I love it. That's awesome, man. Shout out Kentucky. They're playing hard for Coach Stoops. I don't think he's going anywhere, which is also why I think you're going to see his buyout's huge. So I don't think you're going to see him go anywhere. They're playing pretty well, considering that they played close the last couple weeks, and Cutter Boley playing really good ball. He threw for 350 against Texas. So I'd expect they keep Stoops even with a losing record, because they're not getting John Summerall. He's going somewhere big.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting call, because Auburn is exactly that. It's the wagon with the wheels falling off that just needs someone to just finally just snap it. And Boley's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Jeremiah Cobb is the offense right now, especially with Cam Coleman hurt. If Cam Coleman's out, they're screwed. So like they don't have a spam just throw jump ball guy after that. And you can't trust Jackson Arnold. They've switched to Ashton Daniels. The one thing Kentucky does well is stop the run. So what is Auburn's offense going to be if they can't run the football? Like they're dead. They're going to have to fire their first and second down play callers and just go to the third down guy.
Yeah. Last question for you. You're picking a champion right now. Who is it?
Ohio State.
I give you one choice. That's where I would be too.
Yeah, I think it's very simple. You go Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right, you're picking the Heisman winner. You're picking the Heisman.
Go
all right, you pick the Heisman winner. Who's your Heisman winner right now? If you had to pick going forward, projecting it out, who do you pick? One Heisman winner.
You mean like I'm giving it out
not
today,
odds
or
or anything. I'm saying right.
Like who I think there.
I'm saying you're projecting who gets there, but the odds don't matter. It's not like value based. You just say, hey, I think so and so is going to win the Heisman currently at this date right
now. Like I'm not handing the trophy today. I'm picking someone who will win it at the end of the season.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you nod at me? Yeah, I figured you nodded at me. Yeah, that was in a different tab. I mean, my personal favorite name is Jeremiah Love.
I got a 50 to 1 on him.
I think the numbers continue to be gaudy for a team that's it's a team that people watch. It's a team that gets credit. I think it's a team that can and likely does table for where we're at this point. Like they did the whole thing on ESPN this weekend. I think, was it this weekend? Was it last weekend? It was like, we know that one of the Heisman is going to go to a quarterback this year. The question is just which one. And it was like, all the quarterbacks like that have been churned through it, and I'm like, we're really gonna give this to Mendoza or Simpson or Sayan or Pavia? Like Marcel Reed? Like I to me, it's Jeremiah Love. I think he's the best player in the country. I think he's going to have the numbers. I think he's going to be a team that ends up in the playoff, and everyone looks around and goes, "Yeah, actually, pretty good." I'd say I think him and Haynes King were the guys we were arguing 4 weeks ago, and I think that kind of still holds.
So I have futures on both him and Haynes King. And I will tell you that I put that future on Jeremiah Love before the season, but I didn't know this stat until now. Everybody said on that show correctly that a quarterback's going to win it this year, yada, yada, yada. Fun trivia fact here. Every year that has ended in a 5 that a Heisman has been given out, a running back has won it. So 2005, 2015. 2015 was Derrick Henry, 2005 Reggie Bush, 1995 Eddie George, 85, 75, 65, 55 has all been a running back. Boom. That's your fact of the day right there.
That's all we needed.
So yeah.
What's your schedule for the week? You want to lay it out for the people?
Yeah, so we'll be back on Tuesday with we should have underrated game of the week. I'm staring at it right now. We didn't talk about it, so that's what I was happy about. I always get nervous that we're going to talk about it, which we didn't talk. We would have talked about it last week because I previewed South Florida and Memphis.
Definitely, I would not have let South Florida get by. When you said it was your underrated, I was like, see, that's a clear sign we didn't have a show.
Yeah, it was the underrated game of the week, and I properly picked Memphis to win the game outright. Not even thinking that Brendan Lewis was going to be there. Been hot on the underrated games of the week. And then we're going to have the FanDuel, DraftKings, all the first look shows Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll have the player pool stuff on Thursday and Friday. And then nice live before lock, breaking all the injury news on Saturday morning. Probably live at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, pretty much every day from Tuesday through Saturday, breaking everything down. And I will tell you that on stream on Saturday mornings, I build my high dollar, the 50K to first DK contest. I build my 5 lineups for that on stream. And one of the ones I built last week finished 28th. So you're seeing exactly what I'm playing. I'm building it live right in front of you based off of that. So if you copied me last week, you would have finished in the top 20 of I got up to 12th at one point. I was one Josh Cameron touchdown away from 10 grand in that contest.
I was late to the party and I was sad about it.
Yeah, I was sweating the heck out of that game. So yeah, my buddy was late too, and he was trying to catch up, and he was trying to find Jeremiah Koger to put him in his lineup, and he kept typing Kroger. So he kept so he couldn't find him. So he ended up with somebody else who didn't score. So I was like, "Yep, that sucks, buddy. I'm sorry."
Yeah,
so
you can always just sort by depth chart. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know enough. It's okay. It's okay. Kyle is a little bit special, but we still love him. So yeah. So I'll be back all week with that content. Appreciate Brian for stopping in after he took his flight over. And we will be back next week, dropping and previewing everything all the way through. So I appreciate you guys.
Fired then.
That's right. Hugh Freeze going to be gone next week. We'll be talking live right about it. We'll see you.